What's up, everybody? Enlightened Masculinity Show. Soon to be, I don't know how soon to be IMC Radio. Going through name changes, all kinds of great stuff is happening. This show, particularly, I'm going to be talking about some really exciting collaborations that are coming up. And it's just going to be like epic, like change the face of the earth epic. And of course, this show has been all about that. You know, Enlightened Masculinity is the red pill of, the mating agenda, the sex psychology. And in the 50 episodes I've done so far, I've covered like aliens, I've covered mass mind control, I've covered vaccines, I've covered so many, it's a red pill show, but, why we go so heavily into sex psychology and, mating and pickup and seduction and relationships and, that whole thing is because to really excel at the highest levels in those things, you're going to come across all those other topics of communication, emotional awareness, meditation, self-awareness, and spirituality, and mass mind control, and all of the conspiracy agendas and whatever, because it's all related into the feminist agenda and why men have been suppressed, both through the mind control, media, the nutrition, everything that's been pushed, the school system, blah, 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 blah. So when we go to the top, the guy that's at the very top of the dating game, that's excelling and beating everybody else. There's not really, it's not like a sport so much where, like, let's say we were wrestling, I could go against you and tell you that I'm better than you. We can, because let's say there's the same girl, we could both go for the same girl. But what if somebody lives in Miami and another person lives in Los Angeles and they don't travel much because they don't need to, like they're killing it where they are. They don't got to fly across the country for business or whatever. And that's not a measure of success. It's almost a measure of being, like, you got to move to do business, bring the business to you. It's almost the opposite, actually. So it's possible that you don't ever compete for, like, and it's not all about the woman is like the prize or whatever, but that is, a lot of people that have a lot of money throw away their money for the wrong relationships. They lose half of it in a divorce, or they go to strip clubs and they throw it all away, or they just, they get in wrong with the wrong girl and she gets pregnant. And so then she just leeches off him for 18 years, or, rape cases or whatever. If the guy is super rich or famous and the girl doesn't like him, finds out she doesn't like him for whatever reason, maybe he's not going to give her all she wanted or whatever. She just gets offended by something. There are girls that will say rape and then get a big settlement out of that. That's like, guys with money, they don't get, it's a generalization. There's going to be players in every field or whatever. But, in the dating game, how are we going to compare someone from over there to over there in different echelons of society? Different, what's going to work if you're a professional athlete? What's going to work if you're a celebrity or a rock star? Different morals in those industries or in that sector that would allow a person to get away. If you were a top stock agent, you're making $1 million a day or something. It's different than if you were the top hip hop artist or a rock star and you're making not even that much compared to that. But because of the industry you're in, your sexuality is differently portrayed than, on Wall Street or whatever, or on Washington, D.C. You'd be the most powerful person in the world and still not be able to have a second wife, even though a rock star or a Mormon could. But you would never be elected president if you had two wives. So it's like there's different arenas that allow, you don't have to compete in those arenas, but if you want to be the president of the United States, you got to kind of play, you're not going to change the whole system before you even get elected. You're not even going to change the system after you're elected. So, like, you got to kind of play ball by the rules of, the culture that you're born into. But you can also have the choice to, Donald Trump could have tried to be a rock star if he wanted to go that route. It's not that women are so important either, but maybe a man's freedom of expression is so important. And, if you're going to be like a political figure or a sports figure or something, maybe you got to be censored, somewhat tame. You're owned by your audience in a way. And so what we got our hands, or I got my hands on, because I live with the guy. I've made myself so close, intimate with the business and everything. We got our hands on a guy with 10 girlfriends, 10 super fine girlfriends that, in the world of men, that's just ridiculous. People just write it off and think, oh, it must be Mormon or it must be some crazy cult or something. They can't even wrap their minds around it. So push that aside. Then you got guys that are, let's say, in the dating community. They're studying to be better at dating. And they, of course, come across guys that get lots of women or have had lots of women, or at least talk about getting lots of women. And, they meet guys that were quote naturals. They meet guys that are terrible. They meet guys that, and depending on how far you go into it and where you find yourself in different establishments, you'll meet natural players. You'll meet guys that are very high value that don't play by the rules. But a lot of them, I mean, it's not that there's a lot of them to really sample from as far as like a statistic here or whatever, but they lie still. They're not honest, and they're not necessarily aware of the psychology and the genetic behavior patterns that they're playing off of. So they have a narrow awareness versus somebody that studies like, sex psychology or whatever, is going to be able to jump strategy to strategy, be able to handle different situations because he sees ahead of time. He sees where it's going because he knows the female agenda or whatever. And that's where you get like the master pickup artist or a seduction artist, a seducer. So in the world of master pickup artists and seducers, which is a world above just guys that get girls, that's going to be guys that choose which girls they want to get, and they go and get them time and time again. That they go into venues and they know how to either speed, kind of like sniper, pick up a girl, or also build value so that, let's say, the staff likes you so that you can go back night after night. And then eventually, once you have such a reputation, you just kind of have your choice of women, because women gravitate towards the owner and the bartenders and anybody that has value. And if you're one of their buddies, then they gravitate towards you too. And if you got great communication skills, then you're just going to be like a fisherman throwing out the net, pulling in fish. So in the world of master pickup artists, at the top, you have Arash Bazar at the top. And so far above the next pickup artist that it's not even close. Then you have other adjacent industries that would be similar. Let's see. One that's close to it would be a pimp. Just in terms of success with women, the ability to pick up a woman, the abundance of women, and it's obviously very different. There's often violence and drugs involved with that. And often the finest women really don't get involved with that. You might find some beautiful prostitutes, quote beautiful, but really the finest and classiest women, the women that you could really mold into your queen in the world of, in the more expansive world. I'm sure a pimp would call his woman, or could refer to her or think of her as like maybe his queen. I don't know. I know one pimp, and I don't think he calls her his queen, but I'm sure in some passing he might say, "I'm king. You're one of my queens," or whatever. And that's, how many women would want to be that? I don't know. But they could say that and invalidate Arash Bazar too. I would never be one of 10 women. And the thing is that, when you're in conversation with the guy, it's different than when you're just saying that from the outside, judging it from some outside values. If I would never be with a man that has multiple women. Well, yeah, but that's because you're comparing it to every man that you've had a conversation with. So yeah, I get it. From the men that you've conversed with, those men, it would not be worth it to you if they had another woman. Have a conversation with me, and it's a little bit different. Have a conversation with Arash Bazar, and it's this, that's the value, the understanding. You're not aware of what you're not aware of, like the where he can touch your psychology, where he can demonstrate understanding, where he can hear you, on what levels he can hear you, and obviously understanding the mating agenda and seduction and so many things. I mean, it's just a fantastic thing. So what is this podcast episode about right now? Is just bringing you awareness of what's about to happen, these collaborations. I was talking with Arash Bazar. This is like the meat of the show. I should have just started with this. I was talking with Arash Bazar about growth and bringing new people in. We get censored on different platforms, and sometimes, we get uncensored, and so more people find us. But, these social media platforms are really mature. Excuse me while I take a drink here. And it's a shame, really, when I look at, there are some Instagram profiles like masculinity or, even dating memes or whatever, and they get a lot of followers because maybe they put out like memes and stuff, but they're terrible with women. I've had them on Enlightened Masculinity. I've had like 2 or 3 of them that were big Instagrammers that had a lot of people, and that was years ago when I was much worse, and they were worse. They were just terrible. Like, they don't know what they're doing just because they have a following. And so we can do that game of pay to play, pay to put out ads and funnel people, and we should, and we will. As I've worked with the IMC staff, on what we do with IMC Base One. So if you haven't been to imcbase1.com, go check out imcbase1.com. And, so you can see, the following and the movement that we have here. It's a great movement. With monthly events here in San Jose with Arash, going infield, strip clubs and private parties, and, really mastering just the interaction with females and taking that back to your life and creating a better life for yourself in the interactions with females that are already in your life, in meeting new females, in the kind of enthusiasm and aggressiveness and rigor that you bring to your own business, so that you have more money and more time to pick up more women. You use your time more effectively and efficiently, because that's what living with Arash is teaching us. He's very condensed in his movement, very segmented in his time, disciplined in his schedule, day after day after day after day after day. And within that schedule is free and playful and seductive and picking up and whatever, but it's a very disciplined. And so the mindset and the communication skills that come from him, even though you don't maybe have the player's lifestyle right now, is going to, you're molding what you're doing to piece by piece replace how you do things to be more like how he does things, which fits your life. It's almost like law of attraction. If you make it, or it's like what's that movie with the baseball field, and he's like, if you build it, they will come. It's like you make your schedule that way, you make your lifestyle that way, and the interactions come, and then it's knowing what to do with them. So you study this also. So AZD and I were brainstorming about growing this thing. I was trying to get tribal leaders to do events to draw in their audience. Okay. A few of them did that. A few of them did it a few times, and that had some success. It takes a lot of effort to put on tribal leader events. For the individual tribal leader, there's a lot of communication you have to do. You're not used to it. It's a front-loaded effort. So you're going to put a bunch of time into it, and then maybe you succeed. And the money isn't really worth it, but the experience is tremendous. And if you can persevere, then you become like me. This is where I am. That's what I did. So tribal leaders is not a great way for expansion right now, even though there's hundreds of members in this IMC Nation, and really thousands if you include YouTubers and a broader expanse of people that really appreciate the information. But as far as the inner circle, the guys that are contributing and paying their dues and getting tremendous value and applying their time to study this stuff, let's say we got 300 red pill artists out there, 300 guys that are, just hella red pilled on AZD information. And of them, there's probably about 100 to 120 that are consistently like inner circle of that are applying like everything they can. They're like doing everything they can to varying degrees, but it's like on that level where it's like they're looking at everything they can give, and they're maybe giving some level of it, and on up. And but there's a lot of dating coaches out there with their growth on YouTube and their growth on Instagram. So we could pay for ads to start skimming those audiences, tagging those companies, tagging the hashtags that they or targeting the hashtags that they use. And we should, and we will. And what AZD brings up to me, which is something that I was about to do for this very show, Enlightened Masculinity, was collaborations with other YouTubers, guys that have audiences. I was looking for particular size between 5 to 100,000. Now, if I was going to use AZD for a collaborator, I would say we need a YouTuber with, it depends. They would have to be really high class if they had 20,000 subscribers, but probably like 30 or 40,000 to 100,000. Let's see what kind of success we can get there. And what kind of YouTubers? These are going to be guys that are involved with dating advice, mgtow, men's movements, masculinity. They can't be too pussy. But any YouTuber that has 30 to 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to collect a list of those people, and I'm going to hit them up, and I'm going to say, hey, I got a guy with 10 girlfriends and they're super fine, and he wants to do a video stream with you, a collaboration. If you'll expose him to your audience, I can set everything up, blah, 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 blah. Why should they do it? Because hell, do you know someone with 10 girlfriends? Do you know someone with 3 girlfriends? And are they super fine? And how long have they had them? And are they teaching other guys to do it also? So this is like the most hella interesting person you could possibly have on your show, Mr. Jones or Miss. I don't know if there'll be any girls like that. It'd be fucking weird. Probably shouldn't do that. That'll just be a disaster waiting. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. So populate a list. Let's say I get 100 channels that are in this category and I hit them all up. How many do you think I'll be able to get to collaborate with Arash? The audio files, maybe I can post them here on this very channel. The video files I'll post on my YouTube. And also the goal is that the other person posts them and we'll grab some new people from there. Those are going to be qualified people that are interested in learning this art and, expanding, overcoming censorship and really spreading the goodness and the good word and information, because, this is the antivirus to, the feminist mind washing and the communist mind washing of people everywhere. And America is one of the most free thinking, and yet we're still so mind washed into this shit. And, so there's a lot of purpose and drive behind it, and it'll be good for everybody, because as the IMC people that have been around for even a year or more, as new people come in, you'll start to feel a lot more pride about your growth, pride about your evolution. It'll become more real to you as you measure your growth against where you were. You'll hear questions or comments made that were similar to how you were thinking, and you'll see the distance. You'll have pride in the distance you've created from the old you to you, or from the normal sheep and you. And that's important to know, because that kind of confidence is necessary, because she may not recognize it. She doesn't have the awareness to recognize it. And you maybe haven't upgraded your body language and your pickup skills so much that you can generate attraction in her like a pickup artist. So what you got to do is play a longer game where you stay in her life, and eventually she sees not just your wisdom because you studied a book, but because you have a beingness, a true understanding of how to be. You're not fronting. You don't even know how to front. That's what pickup artist is. You have to learn how to front load your value. Just being a good guy is actually having value. And what this is real mental value, not the kind of value like I studied accounting, and so I have value in knowing how to account, or I studied web design and I have value in knowing how to web design. This is, I studied communication and human psychology and sex psychology. So I have more awareness of your womanness and my manness and our humanness than any other man you'll ever meet or have met, and including your father, your brother, and every teacher or boyfriend you ever had. You'll soon find this out the longer you converse with me if I'm an IMC Nation student. And that's real value to a man's life. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever you're doing as a man, you're probably doing it so that you get better choices of mates. Let's be real. Or you're doing it to try to keep that one mate happy. But deep down in your gut and your heart, you want some new mates also. You don't want to lose her, probably. Maybe you do, but I'll bet if you got some new girls, you wouldn't want to lose the old girl. New girls make you want to keep the old girl, actually. If she's, and if you have an honest, integrated lifestyle, then it's even better. You can experience emotions and a sense of expansion that's not available to a man that's confined by, that kind of relationship dogma that people have. So there's a lot of people live on the audience right now. I appreciate you all arriving. We have the advanced lecture happening right now, the Angels Gathering, the most powerful boot camp that I've ever experienced so far, except for maybe Tabiat, but that didn't have daily lectures like this program has. So as far as the build up to an event, this is incredible. I really recommend for everybody, if you can get together the money, go to imcbase1.com and, save yourself in this bullshit world. All right. Everybody that was live on Instagram and Clubhouse, Facebook, and Zoom, os, namaste.